Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude and part 9 of the Persson tribute build of the Airfix 148 scale North American P51D Mustang in Swedish markings. So, where we left off last time was got the wing installed. I did not do any of the ailerons or flaps, but I got that positioned and it's ready to go. So the next part is the propeller shaft and the mounting parts for that. So those are all parts D. So we'll get the D sprue down. So we need 58, 52, and 64. So $58, $64 is right here. 52 is right here. So we'll get those cleaned up. And I should be able to mount those now, as long as the front end of the fuselage is all flush like it should be. Alright, so that needs to mount like this. So this one goes through here, and then this goes right there. Now, you'll have to be careful if you want to play with your airplane when you're done. You'll have to make sure that the propeller spins, so you don't want to put too much glue on there. I'm just wondering how much it needs to be centered, how much play there is. There's quite a bit, so I don't have to worry about it too much. So just make sure it's lined up as close as possible. And put some cement on there like that. That squawking in the background, if you heard it, is my granddaughter Emerson, or Emmy for short. It's my daughter and son-in-law's baby. She's being a little punk, a little 6-week-old punk. So they can be punks when they are little. Alright, so that actually, in looking at that, looks really flat. So we should be good. So this part then goes in here like that. Whoops, out of frame, sorry. So it looks pretty good. Okay, so that looks good right there. So the next part are the exhausts, D24 and D28. So let me cut those off, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of work on those. I say we. 24 and 28. because we're going to have to drill out those exhausts. We want it to look even remotely realistic, because unlike some of the fancier kits in the world, they are solid on the end there. Also, kind of need to see if there's supposed to be a seam along the exhaust there where it's, you know, formed and then, you know, got a weld seam across the top, like, or pinched together or whatever. So I'm gonna grab out the old book. So in looking at references, there are weld seams, but they are barely distinguishable. So for our intents and purposes here in 1/48 scale, we're going to say no. No on the seams. So that'll be the first thing I need to do, is clean those up before I drill them out. So I'm just going to use the edge of my blade here and scrape them smooth, like that. I'm not going to worry about the inside because you can't see it. So I'm just going to do that on both of these and then come back and start working on drilling the holes out. Okay, so here is what I'm doing. There's the first one, and I'm making this real simple because sometimes I find that I can center these things up better with a knife blade sometimes than with a drill bit on stuff this small. So I'm just sticking the point of the blade where I want the hollow spot to be, and just twirling it around like that. Now it is not going to be scale thickness, but at least it will be better than no holes at all. So I'll do that on these real quick and then come back. And there you have it. Not perfect, but better than what it was. So with that, I shall glue them in place. And you mix them up, don't sweat it. Just remember that the exhaust pipes are supposed to tilt down. Okay, so that looks like that. So I think for this one, I'm going to use my thicker cement, just so I get a pretty good contact in there. Put that in, I'll test it later, make sure it actually stuck. So there's that one. I already test fit these, by the way, so don't think, oh, you're always talking about test fitting and you didn't test fit it, but I did. Because I like to make sure it's going to fit right. Just like that. Alright, so there's that. So I pulled the camera back a little bit just so you could see a little bit better. I didn't realize it was so close, but anyway, so now we're up to step 38. And this little chin thing. That is D13. Scoop, that's what I meant to say. Chin scoop. For something. So we'll cut that off. Carefully trim that and that, and it should fit just like that, and it fits pretty good. Cat here. Okay, so let's that, and let's see, I'm use my tweezers. I don't want to touch it with my fingers. So that fits really well. I like it. So looks wonky from in here, but that part isn't visible, so we're good to go. All right, so that is D13. So the next part, we need to move on down to the radiator, and we have part number D31. Now it's calling for it to be painted on the inside, but I'm going to do that later, so I'm not going to worry about it. So, because I can brush paint that if necessary. So we got D31. So I'm going to cut this pretty far back, so I want to make sure I trim this, trim and sand this one properly. So that looks pretty good. Trim that little bit off there and there. And then see how it fits here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I am going to sand this a little bit though. I didn't see that. So that's looking pretty good. There's a little bit of an edge around this from the molding process. I want to make sure that's knocked down so I don't get this weird sharp edge. All right, that looks good. So let's put it in place here and see how it looks. Yeah, that lines up really nice. Kind of a little bit sticking out on the side there. I'm not sure how well that's supposed to fit on the real aircraft, so I'm going to take a look. Okay, and looking at my my reference here, that is a pretty close, smooth fit around there. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of sanding on that to make sure that it looks right. So put it in place here, and it needs a little bit off of that side and that side. It's almost as if the edge of this is a little rounder than that, but it could be an optical contusion just from the angle. So I'm going to sand that down a little bit. And let's see, let me get a coarser sanding stick. Let's start working on that a little bit. Trying to keep it in frame as much as possible, but it's kind of hard when sanding on these curved edges like this. Hopefully when I can get my equipment moved around a little bit, I can do a little bit better job, get my camera angle matched, lined up a little better. Whoa. So you can see what I'm doing. So I need to take a little bit more off this side here. Now I'm really going to do my best to pay attention to the length of this video so it's not too long, so I don't have to do some weird editing like I did on that earlier series. That was horrible. I feel so bad. But, you know, I get so caught up in building my kit that I didn't pay attention. So yeah, it's a lot better. That is a lot better right there, like that. So that side looks pretty good because I can always manipulate it a little bit more once it's in place, but that side looks pretty good, except seems like there's a little bit of debris right there. Whoa. Getting crazy. So it looks pretty good. I like that. So I'm going to throw down with a little bit of cement on here. Boy, my little granddaughter's really squawking right now. She's not very stoked. So let me squish this around like that. That looks pretty good, but I think I will have to probably try and do a little bit of sanding. I may not have to if I can get this to seal up good. Yeah, that's already better. So a little bit of knife work should help that out. Because there is a seam line there. Just I need to make sure it's not too big and gappy. Oh man, that's a word, gappy. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna have to probably scribe a little bit around it to kind of match that up a little bit better. A little bit of sanding maybe right there. No, maybe not. A little bit of sanding right there probably. So there is that. All right, so the next part is D9, which goes on the bottom. That'll have to be painted on the inside, but again, I'll do that later. So D9, just right here. Trim that up. And that goes in there like that. Oh yeah, looks good. Throw a little bit of... Now this still needs to be dealt with here. But I think there is a panel line that's supposed to run down the middle. I'll just be double checking that to make sure. And fix it up if I need to, but I think there is a panel line there. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I have to tell myself this a lot too, if you look at a lot of photos of these aircraft, especially in their original condition, well, even probably more so in their restored condition, oftentimes, especially when you have removable panels, they don't line up very good on the real aircraft. They might have right out of the factory, but after a bit of use, it's just thin aluminum and it gets kind of bobbled around. So it's not going to look that great. Okay, the next part is D55, and I will have to cut some posts off inside of the fuselage, depending on how I'm going to have it. And since I'm going to have it on the ground, it's going to be open. So first off, I need to cut off D55, which is right here. Like that. Trim the sprue off, or the sprue gate there. Oh, stellar. Smooth it out. Thusly. And smooth this out. This part won't be seen, but still. Alright, so it fits like that. So actually, whoop, whoop, whoop. Flinging stuff around all crazy. So what I'm going to do first though is I'm going to smooth this out right here, because there's that little kink and I don't want that. Not kink, but like a notch. I'm going to work on that for a minute. Okay, for where it contacts those two pegs, I used my medium super glue, CA glue, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to hold that there for a second. Then I'll use this for here, like that. And that should hold it nicely. Alright, so that's in place. So the next part, I need to assemble the horizontal stabilizers. So we'll cut off C5 and C2 first, which is subassembly 42. So we'll do that one first. Okay, this one has this large circle here and this large indent here where it fits together, and then this overlaps that, so it all fits really good. It's a very positive connection. So what I can do is I can put my cement on there and then use a couple of my handy dandy clamps. Like these to squish together. So let us begin. All right, and then squish it together like that. After I fix that, okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off parts 3 and 4 and prep those. So while those are drying, I will cut off the rudder. Get that cleaned up so I can get that attached. And that. All right, so let's see how that fits. I need to square these off right here. Just the top, it looks like. Oh yeah, beautiful. And apparently you can have it either 30 degrees. If you're going to have it twisted one way or another, you need to stick to 30, no more than 30 degrees, I would assume that means. Yep, looks good. So I will hold it. That looks pretty good. Like that. Beautiful. All right. So that takes care of the rudder. All right, so we're up to step number 47. So we're at about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. So I'm going to call it right there. Next time when I come back, I'll be looking at any stuff on the fuselage I need to sand and make look better. And we'll move on with the landing gear doors and all that in here, landing gear, and then we'll move on to, after that, be drop tanks and all that kind of stuff if I decide to do those. Propeller, canopy, windscreen, all that. So we're getting kind of close here. So next time we'll be on step number 47. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and the Peter Persson tribute build of the Airfix P51D in 1/48 scale. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hints, tips, etc., please put them in the comments section down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. So until next time, I will see you all later.